So Bitcoin breaks all-time highs and everything feels like it's in up-only mode with FOMO in the air. However, in this video, I'm going to be going over why we should be cautious with certain assets heading into higher time frame resistances and pointing out some buy areas which could make for a really good entry should we see a pullback. So let's get into it. So quickly starting on a website called CoinMarketCap before we get into the charts. Now, the majority of you have probably used this website before, but if you haven't, it's a great website, great tool for pretty much all things crypto. Find exchanges, tokens, coins. You can check out different categories of cryptocurrencies, historical snapshots, all this good stuff, lots of tools. But the thing I want to focus on today is the fear and greed index quickly. So if you click on here, and again, the majority of you have probably seen or used this, but if you haven't, it's basically a very simple indicator or a score to indicate how fearful and greedy the market is. Now, of course, as the saying goes, you want to be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. That allows you to essentially buy the bottoms and sell the tops. Obviously, a lot easier said than done because the market is, of course, built on human psychology and emotion. So what this score does, or this chart indicator, whatever you want to call it, the higher the number, the greedier the market is, the lower the number, the more fearful the market is. And of course, the higher the number, the closer we are to a top, or a local top at least, and the lower the number, the closer we are to a bottom, or again, a local bottom at least. And if you take a look here, the yearly high and low, so the yearly high was 92, which was obviously extreme greed, and that was on the 12th of March of this year. And if you remember, that was the top of the mini alt season we had that started at the end of last year and ended around March and April of this year. Now, I'm going to cover alt season in a more in-depth video on Monday, so if you don't want to miss that, make sure you subscribe and of course like the video if you do enjoy the content. We do appreciate it. And then of course the yearly low was in September, not too long ago, a few weeks ago, and that was down at 26, and of course that was a local low as well. So if you look at today's score at 72, not crazy high, but we are starting to get quite high, where we may well see a bit of a local top and some form of a pullback. So again, if you're feeling that FOMO, feeling like you just want to go all in, maybe wait a little bit. We could have, of course, push a little bit higher, but I think there may well be a bit of a pullback on the cards very soon. And of course, you don't want to be going all in at a bad time like a local top. So just a little bit of caution. And as I say, I'll go over it in a little bit more detail as we go through the chart. So if we start, of course, with Bitcoin itself on the monthly, it looks absolutely fantastic. We're of course above those previous all-time highs of 73.8k so far. Not really too much point looking at the monthly in too much detail though. We are obviously only about a week in. On the weekly time frame, again, looks fantastic. We were a little bit concerned about that wick we had on last week's candle where we just stopped short of the all-time highs. Then it was quite a bearish looking weekly candle. Of course, the election has been a big catalyst for this move. So at the moment, weekly time frame looking great, as long as we don't close the weekly candle back below the previous all-time highs of 73.8 and certainly not back below 71.3, which I don't see happening, but of course anything is possible. But as long as we don't see those two scenarios, then the weekly looks absolutely fantastic. We should be seeing Bitcoin's highest weekly candle close ever. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but it looks like that is the case. US market session has been over for about half an hour now and nothing too crazy, but Friday afternoons can bring a little bit of volatility as well. We didn't really have much volatility yesterday with the FOMC, a bit of a non-event. But if we go and take a look at the daily time frame, again, looking fantastic. Managed to smash through this daily resistance here at 72.5k where we rejected last week. And now, as you can see, we are doing pretty well. But you can see a little bit of exhaustion potentially showing itself in the last two daily candles. Had a little bit of a wick yesterday and today. You could well see this start to roll over, potentially come back down and retest some levels as well. With the RSI, there is a potential for a divergence here as well. So you've got the RSI higher on the 29th of October than it is currently, whereas price is higher than it was back then as well. So there's a potential divergence, but bearish divergence potentially forming there. So if we are going to see a pullback on BTC, where would I be looking at potentially putting an order, buying, entering along, etc.? Probably my first level I'd be looking at is the previous all-time highs, see if that holds. However, I personally prefer a bit of a deeper pullback down to about 72.5k, again where that level of resistance was before. It's not been tested as support since we broke above it, so that would be a nice clean retest there. Whether we get it or not, we'll have to wait and see. If we see a deeper pullback, then if we see a weekly candle close confirm above 71.3, then that would then flip that to support. So that could be a decent pullback area there. It also has confluence with not only this daily fair value gap, but also the moving average 21 just below it at 70k. And also if we take our Fibonacci retracement tool, go from the bottom of this leg to the top, and the 618 lines up perfectly with that daily fair value gap as well. And of course, in another day or two, this daily moving average 21 will be slightly higher as well. So anywhere in between sort of 71.5 and 71k, I think would be the perfect entry should it get that far. As I say, if it doesn't, then 72.5 looks like a good entry as well. Moving on to Ethereum then, which has been absolutely flying over the past few days. Again, I'm going to look at this in a little bit more detail, especially the ETH BTC chart and the Bitcoin dominance chart on Monday, and some examples of some alt BTC pairs that are looking really good. Drop in the comments below what altcoins you're holding, or what altcoins you think are going to do really well in this upcoming alt season, should we get one. But I think there is a good chance we're either starting one or we're going to get one a little bit further down the line. But Ethereum itself, as I say, absolutely amazing weekly candle so far. We're getting past this big level of resistance that's been holding us down ever since the beginning of August. So a long time we've been ranging this weekly fair value gap and this daily range high of around 2.7k. We also had the weekly moving average 21 in that area as well. And now we're up against this big level of resistance at 2880. So a weekly candle closed back above 2880, and that is a deviation back inside this range, with the range high being at 3880. So could be a massive move, could be a very quick move as well, should we reclaim this level and go straight up to the weekly range high, about 33% move. However, as I said at the beginning of the video, this is a big higher time frame resistance, so there is a good chance we're not going to get through it first time. It's the first time we've tested it since we broke it as support. You see how many times it held as support all the way through April until July, before we lost it at the end of July. So big level of previous support, may well be a strong resistance as well. And if that does hold as resistance, then I'd like to see a pullback, retest this weekly fair value gap, or the bottom of it, which is also the top of this daily range. As you can see, it'd also be a nice retest on the daily time frame as well. So that's the area I'm looking at for Ethereum. If we get a pullback down to 2730-ish, 2740, maybe 2750. In terms of the weekly time frame though, if we do manage to break the weekly range low or deviate back inside the weekly range low, then we may well see a rejection at the top of this weekly fair value gap around $3,090. And then we may well do something similar to this, where, where's my, oh, just there. So we could come up, test the weekly FVG as resistance, come down, retest the weekly range low as support once we've obviously confirmed with the weekly candle close above, and then that's where you might see the move up to the weekly range high. So something to keep an eye on, a couple of scenarios there dependent on that weekly candle close. Let's move on then to some of the altcoins that are doing very well at the moment, such as Solana. But again, on the weekly time frame, as you can see, we are up against huge weekly or high time frame levels of resistance here at about $205. You can see it was the top of this bear market rally in December 2021. It was also the top back in March as well. You can see we tested it 4 times and rejected, and now we're testing it again. So might not get through first time of asking on this recent attempt. We may get a little bit of a pullback, and if we do, if we go down to the daily, a couple of levels that I'm looking at. So the main one would be this previous high here at $181. I think that would be a very nice entry there should we get a shallow pullback. The daily moving average 21 won't be too far away from that either. And then if we grab the fib, again, go from the bottom of the leg to the top, you can see that the moving average 21 and the 618 line up quite nicely there. If we get a very quick pullback in the next day or two, before the daily moving average 21 has got a chance to meet up with that daily level of $181. You can see we're actually rejecting this level over the past couple of hours as well. So may well see a pullback into 181, and if not, daily moving average 21 I think will be good buy areas for Solana. And again, you've potentially got, no, actually no, you don't have divergence there because the RSI has just about crept back above the RSI high there. So let's move on to Doge. Again, another big winner off of the election. Onto the weekly time frame. Again, tagged this clear level of resistance at 22 cents, which was the high again back in March and April. Rejected off it. This was actually a couple of days ago. This was back on Wednesday. It rejected. It's not really moved too much since. In terms of a pullback, I like this weekly level of 17 cents. You can see this has been a clear level of previous support and resistance in the past as well. It was actually most recently tested a resistance last week, and then we've closed it. We should close above it again this week. So that would be a nice little pullback into 17 cents. And as well, if you think about that as a percentage from the high down to that's a 20% pullback. So that would be a very nice entry indeed. If we go down to the daily time frame, there's more confluence with this area as well. So it's got a daily level at 17.5 cents. Again, you can see big level of previous support and resistance here, and as well, should price remain up here for a few more days, the daily moving average 21 is eventually going to creep up to around that 17 cents area as well. And not only that, you have the daily fair value gap down here at just under 18 cents. So anywhere from about 17.9 to 17.3 cents as a lot of confluence in that area. Then let's just grab the fib as well from the start of the leg of the move to the top. And again, that 618 comes in perfectly at about 17.3 cents. So as I say, anywhere between sort of 17.9 and 17.3 cents on Doge looks like a fantastic pullback. Lots of confluence, and it would be about a 20% pullback from the highs that we put in a couple of days ago as well. So really nice area for Doge. ADA, again, this has been on an absolute tear the past few days. Let's go to the weekly time frame. But again, as I say, we are into high time frame resistance here at 45 cents. So this was the high again back in June, July time, which we're currently rejecting. Again, on the weekly time frame, a nice pullback would be this weekly level of 39.5 cents. You can see this has been another well-respected level of previous support and resistance. It was the highs back in September, which we're currently looking like breaking. So again, a nice pullback retest of that level would be a nice entry indeed. In terms of a percentage pullback, again, that's about 12%. So that is not a bad pullback percentage at all. In terms of the daily time frame, as I say, it's been on an absolute tear. And this has been quite frustrating in terms of not getting a clear entry signal for a trade in terms of ADA, because it was stuck in this range, broke down from the range. Again, you could have maybe risked jumping onto this entry here on the weekly level. But apart from that, you would have thought, okay, if it deviates back into the range, I'll enter there. But the daily level just went straight to the top of the range. And then you think, okay, a daily close above the range high and a breakout, I'll get into that. The next day, bang, goes up, I don't know, what's that, 10% or something like that in one day? Yeah, 11%. So you couldn't get in there. And then yesterday, you think, well, it's at the highs here from back in September, so maybe you're going to get a pullback. Nope, bang, straight up to the next weekly level. So been difficult to get into. However, as I say, pullback into 39.5 cents would be quite good. You've got these daily highs, as I just mentioned, as well, around 40 cents. So a pullback into around 39.5 cents, I think looks very good for Doge. If we go and take a look at the Fibonacci as well, and obviously it is a big leg from the bottom to the top. In terms of fib level, you've got the 382 lined up in there as well. So I think 39.5, 40 cents is a really nice area to jump into ADA. And then finally, Link, which again has been on an absolute tear the last few days. Now, this is actually looking like it's going to break its high time frame resistance here at this previous weekly range low of 12.38 cents. You can see it's been a big level of support and resistance, literally from, I mean, it was even support and resistance back here in Feb 2022 and March, but more recently, it's literally almost been tested nearly every week from November. Had a bit of a gap here between sort of January, February, March, but then it's been tested, as I say, almost every week from April of this year to this week as well, both as support and resistance. Very clean, well-respected level. You've also got the moving average 21 on the weekly time frame here as well. So a close above all of that, that looks really good. So again, similar to, I think it was Solana or ETH we talked about, where it could come down, retest the weekly range lows as support if it breaks over the top, and then you can get that run up to the weekly range highs of $18, which would be about a 45% move, so not too bad at all. However, if this level holds as resistance and the weekly EMA 21 as well, you may well see a pullback, maybe retest this daily level down here at about $11.47. If we grab the fib, go from the start of the leg to the top, again, that 618 comes in around that daily level and the daily moving average 21 as well, although that would be quite a pullback. I think personally, you're probably going to see the weekly candle close above the $12.38 weekly range low, deviate back inside, and then you're probably going to get a retest down here. As you can see, lines up quite nicely with the daily time frame as well, support and resistance level. So probably see a weekly candle close above $12.38 and then get in on the retest as support. So hope you found this useful. Hope you're not succumbing to the FOMO. Hopefully you're quite well positioned as it is and you're not going to do anything silly over the next few days. Of course, things could continue, but you got to try and put the risk reward in your favor. So you don't want to be jumping in at a potential local top. So drop in the comments below what your plan is for the next couple of days and the next week. And don't forget that alt season video coming on Monday. So have a good weekend and I'll see you on the next one.